Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, December 11th, 2018. I'm going to open the meeting at 7:30. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Audia?
Here.
Ms. Fenton? Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Mr. Kucera?
Here.
Mr. McHale?
Here.
Ms. Prowse?
Here.
Ms. Scripture?
Here.
Mr. Shepard?
Here.
Mr. Watson?
Agenda item number 4 is approval of the regular meeting minutes from November 27th, 2018.
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of 27 November 2018.
Second.
I have motion, support. Anybody have any changes, additions, subtractions? Everything's good? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Kucera?
Yes.
Mr. McHale?
Yes.
Ms. Prowse?
Yes.
Ms. Scripture?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
Mr. Audia?
Yes.
Agenda item number 5 is consideration of a site plan approval for 1177 West Maple Road. It's proposed Meta Automotive Office in the Business Renewal District, BRD2 zoning district. Would our city planner like to start us off with this?
Good evening, everyone. We're here today to discuss a revised site plan for 1177 West Maple. This is the proposed MATA office location inside an existing structure. The plan had been in front of you before, and the applicant, you had some comments with regard to certain issues. The applicant has taken those comments and they made revisions to address them, we believe, very satisfactorily. So the main issue at that time was the parking configuration. One site plan indicated a brand new parking lot location on the west side of the existing building. After they've conferred with each other, the owner and the business operator and the architects, they are now proposing merely to reconfigure the northwest corner parking lot so that now there would be 18 compliant total spaces. That would include a barrier-free or handicapped space that's in compliance with our dimensional requirements, and then also it removes some of the spaces that were hanging over the side of a building and not in the best configuration for traffic flow. So there would be 18 total spaces in the northwest. And then also, they've reconfigured and taken into consideration our comments regarding the location of spaces in the southwest corner parking lot. That some spaces on the existing site plan just were indicating a conflict with the loading bays, most notably in the southeast corner of the site. So on the revised plan, this is on sheet 1, this existing condition. So on sheet 2, on sheet 2, they've made revisions such that they are removing the spaces, and as a result, a removal of 14 spaces on that side. So as a result, here we go. The total number of parking spaces now provided on the site will be 59. In addition to this, they've also provided specific information regarding to the floor plan and the makeup of the uses in the structure. The total square footage of the building is 34,275 square feet. Of that, that's the square footage for the Foreman Moore warehouse operation. And then the office space as proposed is going to be 4,728. So based on our parking spacing requirements for those types of uses in this district, they're required to have 39 parking spaces for the entire configuration. So based on this proposed use configuration, the number of parking spaces does exceed the minimum required, but we believe this proposed configuration is an improvement because it has resulted in removal of spaces that might have been in conflict with circulation patterns. And it also provides, I neglected to say, there's also 3 additional spaces in the northeast corner of the site. That would be most in close proximity to the new proposed office space. So that'll provide a better use for the new user. So this proposed configuration of 59 is actually is an improved configuration. In addition to that, some of the other issues that were already addressed that are beneficial to this proposed development is the fact that the loading area, as I mentioned, has been reconfigured. We had a note about trash removal. They've indicated they use interior dumpsters, so that's screening. Dumpster location is not required. When it comes to landscape and screening, uses along West Maple are required to have a 10-foot wide green belt and 1 tree for every 30 lineal feet of along the frontage. So this results in a requirement of 6 trees. Now, as proposed, the applicant is going to be providing 7 deciduous trees and I did it again. 7 deciduous trees and
4 coniferous.
Thank you. 4 coniferous trees. And they are going to also be providing 23 viburnum and 14 forsythia shrubs along the building foundation and scattered throughout the site. So, and one of the issues we were hoping they would address was in the why does it keep doing that? In the to the north of the existing parking lot, there is merely turf grass. They have, and their issue is they're limited into the amount of space that's available to them on their private property. They only have 5.3 feet of space, so they don't have. They're not capable of providing the 10 feet, but they have indicated they're providing a mulch bed with those number of shrubs you see zoomed in on the site plan. So we believe that the landscaping as proposed is satisfactory. With regard to architecture of the building, they aren't proposing any changes to the elevations where of the existing user of the Fulmanmore location. They are proposing to indicate a fence screen element in the entrance. Now this location is indicated on this site plan, so it would be a canopy screen wall right in front of the MATA office space, and it would include signage detail for the new user on that architectural element. So it will definitely modernize that corner of the building and will make it much more attractive. Signage, they are not going to be making any changes to the existing ground monument sign, so that will remain. And then with regards to lighting, they are not proposing any changes to the lighting. We would recommend at a minimum that they provide screening elements on the existing wall packs, because right now the wall packs are not shielded or directed downward. That's a minimum standard we would like to have, especially along a road as busy as West Maple, because the brightness and the harshness of the lights can potentially be a safety hazard. So we do recommend that, and all it would take is modifying the existing light fixtures to provide a screen so that the light is shielded and directed downward. So with that, we do believe the applicant has addressed the outstanding issues very satisfactorily. It will now be it would be an approved site. So we would recommend granting site plan approval contingent upon the applicant modifying the existing lighting to be shielded and directed downwards, and then also making a note that if there are any outstanding engineering issues from the city engineer, that those be addressed as well. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Yes, the first time I saw Made Automotive in here was the first visit was August 28th.
Yes.
We granted TCO at that point in time, and I remember some of the discussion that we had. One of the concerns was the handicap parking. It seemed like they wanted 4 spots out front. Has that been aligned?
Yes.
No sense of putting 4 handicapped parking spaces in front of a small office. You only need one.
Correct. The configuration right now actually indicates 5, I do believe that's more than the standard requires, but that's what's currently indicated. So you have 2 in the northeast corner, 1 in the northwest, and then 2 closer to the Fulman Moore entrance.
Okay.
So that's what they're going it with as proposed. That meets the requirement. If they want to modify it to reduce it, that's possible, but that's what's indicated on the site plan. So.
Anyone else have any questions for Mario?
So they came back, and one of the requests was the landscaping. And I hate to bring this up. And I like the number of trees, but the location seems odd. You're talking mature, deciduous trees that require spacing in a well-landscaped plan of 25 feet. And we've got 3 that are right next to each other in a span of 9 feet along the northeast corner.
Yeah, it looks like the deciduous are 2.5-inch caliber.
Yep.
And then you got the Douglas firs are only 10 feet in height, so it's pretty big, but I mean, not really.
Yeah, but you've got red maple, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly, yeah, that close.
Right, you've got, if you look at the other side, you'll be infringing upon the parking space, potentially, as they limb up, maybe not,
maturity.
but, you know, I consider that to be a screen effectively. Is that the intent, or?
Potentially, however, with the deciduous trees at 2.5-inch caliper, you're not really screening.
No, but I'm saying at some point in time, these will mature, right? And that's part of my concern is that I don't think maturity was given consideration here. All right.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And again, as far as where the monument sign is, where exactly is that in I was having a difficult time, I had to go to Google Street View in order to see where that was.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's called out by the deciduous or the coniferous trees, but not necessarily in the location where I think it was, right? So, but that's why.
Right, because I don't, is it on the other sheet? Yeah, they're not even located on the other sheet. Yeah, so reconfiguration of the proposed material probably would be best in terms of allowing for maturity and then provide a little bit more of a thought-out design to where they'd be located.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pull a Glenn. So a couple, because I read this stuff too, a couple articles that I've seen lately is having conversations about maples being, yeah, okay, you saw the same stuff?
Well, I've seen.
Similar. I mean, we as communities, we jump from, elms are indestructible, we planted them, we got Dutch elm disease, and then, these are great, and then we planted them, we got this. Maples now, I mean, they're becoming more ubiquitous because they are a wonderful, great tree, but we're now running the risk of so many maples, and what's the bug? There is one. I know there's a maple something.
Well, you have, there's a tar spotting that's, common, right? But that's.
But we run into when that thing comes, now we've just lost because we've been so species specific.
Yeah, and part of my intent was to also bring up what I think you're bringing up is biodiversity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So.
That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So.
I mean, I love the fact that it's both deciduous and conifer. I mean, that's great because we've all said we wanted more of those evergreens, but I'm just concerned.
Again, as far as that, my second consideration, as far as
Right.
something to correct, was scale and maturity. Right? Yes, I understand. Right? For the first 10 years, it's going to be right in place, but as they start to grow out, then you start needing to consider thinning what was there. Right? So, but at the same time, consideration for 7 maples on one property. Now, I looked across the street and saw how, their maturity, their green space, their, timber, so to speak, was, in stark contrast to what's on the other side, where there's nothing there other than along the west side of the property, which nothing's happened with that as far as we're concerned, right?
Yeah.
Or at least needs to be addressed unless they're diseased, right?
Right,
Okay, so.
because right now because there's no construction there now.
Yeah, but part of it was also the density, the commonality of the species, and the configuration as far as how close they were in proximity to each other. That we don't need that many. I would love to have 7. I'd love to have 7 spread more farther on the property, but that's entirely up to them. And I also want to make sure that the monument sign is taken into consideration with a species that's taller, that you can see the monument sign underneath whatever
Right.
they intend. All right. So, as far as the evergreen, I don't have a problem with the evergreen. It's a good anchor point for having those there. But as far as the red maples, I would suggest changing that out. I would suggest maybe only having 1 in the northeast corner, and then, 4 on the other side?
Yep. Actually, yeah, because they have 3 on the northeast.
Right?
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
go up. Oh, is that what you're looking at the planning schedule?
Yeah, I was looking at
okay,
the schedule and looking at the.
Yeah, I counted
points.
7.
Yep.
So, and instead of the 3, perhaps having some undershrub to help mitigate and block the parking space. So, as far as they want to continue with forsythia, shrubs, as far as biodiversity, again, I will, continue that comment, but, I don't want to go too in-depth here. But, so as far as on the other side, I would say 2 in that other corner, and would do the same effect. And if they want to have, I would certainly encourage replacement of those trees in order to keep the number, right? But at the same time, I would expect that in the future, the city to look at the right-of-way for public planting at some point,
Right.
right? So, take that into consideration as well. The
Right.
other question I have is the berm. All right, a lot of times the berms are established so that they could have plants on top of them. And I think next door, you have a berm, or at least across the street,
Right,
you
yeah,
have a berm where you have exactly the intent. The trees are on top of the berm. At this point, I'll leave that up to them as far as, what they intend on planting on the berm. But I would suggest replacing the red maple, and I'll give a number of species, their decision.
I don't know if it'd be appropriate at this time to have the applicant
Oh,
have some
it's-
comments on that. I mean, I don't think we're talking about anything about increasing the quantities. It's more about
not at
diversity.
all.
Yeah,
Absolutely
diversity,
not.
because
No,
it is
What you have
substantial.
is fine. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the placement
So
is
does that
the question.
seem something that's appropriate?
diversity.
We're just changing out the species and
Yeah, these sound like.
moving them
kind of
over
more like
to the other side of the
suggestions
site and.
to me,
Okay.
and these plantings won't happen this year anyway, correct?
Correct.
It'll be in the spring.
They'll be happening in the spring, so
Yeah.
if we
Oh, I mean,
tweak it to, by that
yeah, I mean,
point.
if the soil can take it, you can plant anything, right? So, where was my list? So I was going to suggest, and someone else can chime in, replace the red maples with one of the following,
Couple of the following.
a site-tolerant oak, white oak, perhaps, a liriodendron or a tulip poplar, sycamore or plane tree, sweet gum, a linden, elm, or zelkova. And those are what I have looked up as far as recommendations in other municipalities, not only in our area, but in Zone 5 where we are, as far as street recommended trees. With that has a height too, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
there's a canopy that's associated with that. So you may look at a, I didn't have ginkgo.
How could you forget ginkgo?
I know.
Boy, I'll tell you.
So as far as you can add any number of those trees in the particular area, stay, focused on what the adult spread will be, especially next to the parking lot, and then, or the northeast parking spaces, and then you could even get away with one oak tree and, not do two over on the other corner of that lot. Does that make sense? Okay. So the sycamore is nice, big, spreads out. Plane tree is more column. Okay.
Any other questions for Mario?
Could we make sure that the architect submits a revised landscape drawing, so I got something to double check?
Oh, and again, as far as for that, if you're only putting one tree in on the northeast corner, I want to see shrubs in place in order to help screen that space. And can we fit him also on the other side? On the
On the west?
yeah, on the west side of that, like continuation for there.
Right, on this, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, it's basically essentially a parking lot screen for those, and perhaps you can do it on the other side.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else? Would the applicant like to speak to the matter?
No, that's fine. Hi there. My name is Rosario Badalamenti. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll get a landscaping company. He's going to give me the list. I'm giving it to him and see what he can put together. Or should I tell all this to the architect to do it?
The I would, I would refer to a landscape
Okay,
architect.
landscape.
Yeah.
And then we'll give you a layout and we'll...
Because architects usually come up here and then ask them to write down things.
Okay.
Because that's
All
not their
right,
business.
So the
right?
landscaping will be the guy. Okay.
Right.
Basically, that's it.
The other item on the problem here is the existing lighting should be modified to be shielded and directed downwards to minimize the glare on the drivers along West Maple. Do you see any problems with adjusting that?
No, not at all. Right now it's shining toward West Maple. Okay, yeah, we can shield
It
it.
needs some type of deflection on that, and I think Jim can control that
Okay.
as to what's appropriate. Anyone else have
That's
any
fine.
questions?
No, but we appreciate your willingness to add greenery and landscaping and.
No, I'm willing to do it,
That's-
yeah, so it makes sense.
Is
Make their
the
city
office occupied right now?
Right now, they're occupying it.
I apparently misunderstood. When you were in here in August, we approved a temporary for you, and then I understand you didn't move in for the longest time.
Right, we were waiting, to get the blueprint approved and all that, so they were waiting,
Right.
cleaning, painting, but I guess we had the inspector, and then we got a temporary permit.
And at some point, Jim approved the temporary. And what time was that? How long is that permit going to run now, the temporary?
Temporary was a 30-day temporary issued on November 13th, I believe.
November 13th?
So with 30 days in November, it expires December 13th, 2 days from now.
2 days from now.
So you'd have to extend the temporary C of O through the winter months.
Through the winter until the spring planting season comes through.
Correct.
And I think we can go for 8 months, I believe, on a temporary, can't we?
Yes,
I think that's
that's
our limit on it.
So one thing.
Last year, just as a refresher, or this year, however you want to look at it, when we got to this point and people were unable to install landscaping or do concrete work, we extended TCOs until May 31st.
Right, which at a,
And then May
What did they-
31st or thereabouts at that meeting was holy.
Yeah, but we're that's not what's going to happen this year. But I just wanted to remind you of the date, or next year, I should say.
and it's my understanding the city holds a bond on this to cover these conditions?
Yes, they submitted a $5,000 bond.
Which will be held until the work is completed in the spring.
Fair enough.
Okay, fair enough, good enough. Everybody happy? Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion then.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan for 1177 West Maple Road with the following conditions. That the existing lighting be modified to be shielded and directed downward. and that the applicant submit a revised landscape plan to show changes to their drawing on the north line of their property to replace the 3 existing red maples, or actually 7 existing red maples, but of the 3 in the northeast corner, replace with 1 tree and at least 2 deciduous shrubs, and that tree being one of the suggested varieties: oak, tulip, tree, sycamore, beech, sweet gum, plane tree, linden, elm, zelkova, and ginkgo. And on the northwest corner, to replace those 4 red maples with 2 trees similar to the ones suggested. And to return with or submit the revised drawing. That we extend
And extend the TCO.
the temporary certificate of occupancy until May 31st, 2019.
I'll support that.
Just to clarify, all the rest of the landscaping that they propose stays the same. Those are just.
Yes, that's the only changes to the
But they don't get
trees,
rid of those, they
shrubs
stay the same.
in the front. Yep, everything else stays the same.
I have a motion and I have support.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kucera?
Yes.
Mr. McHale?
Yes.
Ms. Prouse?
Yes.
Ms. Scripture?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Audia?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Thank you. Looking forward to see the trees in the spring.
Thank you.
Move on to agenda item number 6 is consideration of a site plan approval for 1421 North Main Street, which is the existing Wendy's restaurant under reconstruction. Would our city planner want to start us off on this one?
Okay. That's good for now, yeah. What we have before us tonight is a first submittal from the Wendy's Corporation, I believe it's a corporation, or the franchisee, for 1421 North Main Street. This is the existing Wendy's location. They are proposing a facade rehabilitation or reconstruction of the existing restaurant. This site is in our B3 General Business District, and it's about half an acre in size. And as proposed, currently it's mainly focused on facade changes. They aren't proposing any current changes to the site itself. And in addition to some interior remodeling. So this use, a drive-through restaurant, is permitted within our B3 zoning district. In terms of the dimensional requirements for the lot and the other dimensional standards, it does meet all the proposed area, height, and bulk setback requirements, as is. With regards to the off-street parking layout and design, based on the size of the building, 2,402 square feet in area, they are required, and the other requirement is that they have 1 parking space for every 75 square feet of floor area, resulting in 33 parking space requirement. So based on the size of the restaurant, that 75 square foot requirement, they need to have 33. And in addition to that requirement, we do have in our zoning ordinance a requirement for the stacking space of the drive-through to make sure that has enough sufficient spaces. They are actually proposing, they are required to have a requirement for 8, and a measurement of the site indicates they can actually fit 10 in their stacking space. So, in addition to that, counting of the existing parking spaces indicate they actually have 40 on site. So the site meets all the parking requirements. Trash removal, they do have a current existing dumpster enclosure, meets our standard. On this particular site plan, they noted that there's a second location I gave a call to the applicant, and they indicated that actually technically isn't being utilized anymore. They used to have that location for a grease trap or an used oil container. Sometimes they would have those separate. They've actually modified this restaurant to have an interior system, so it's no longer required. So with regards to paragraph 4, they merely need to make a revision to this site plan to indicate that it's no longer being used. So therefore, they wouldn't have to provide any kind of second screening. With regard to landscaping, we would recommend, they have a minimum amount of green space frontage along North Main, but we would recommend that they provide 2 additional street trees in addition to the landscape area.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Simply based on the size of the area right now. 2, maybe a little bit more could be possible. We can look into that as well. In terms of architecture, what they're proposing is they have the elevations. It shows they have an existing mansard, basically, facade. Sure. No, you're good. No, they don't have them.
They don't
See,
have
that's not just me. The existing facade is merely a higher roof element that creates a faux look of a mansard roof. They are proposing removal of that around the entire perimeter of the building and replacing it with more modern, flatter elements, modern materials, and then a larger, higher architectural signage element, if you will. But technically, the sign itself would just be that larger location. And these sign areas do meet our zoning ordinance requirements. So it'll be a modern refresh, kind of something you're seeing with most of these restaurants in most communities. And then with regard to signage, Section 36-3 states that any site plan approval indicates that all signage must come into compliance with our zoning standards. They currently have a over 20-foot high pole-mounted sign in that district. They are required to have a maximum of an 8-foot ground monument sign. So we recommend the removal of the pole sign and the installation, if they would like new signage, to have a ground monument sign.
And how are they going to feel about that?
I spoke to them, and I'm not sure. I don't believe we have any other representatives of them today, but I did speak with them, and through email, they just indicated that they are agreeable to that removal of the sign, because they are actually, apparently they are very anxious to get this started. So they say they're agreeable to the street. They say they're agreeable to 2 street trees. They say they're agreeable to the signage and changing the note on the landscape for the dumpster. And then just to touch on lighting, they aren't proposing any kind of changes to the existing lighting. And as proposed, I mean, as existing, it's satisfactory. It's not the greatest, but it's satisfactory. And speaking with the Director of Engineering Services, he's indicated the current plan as proposed doesn't have any engineering-related issues for them to consider. So we would recommend that the proposed reconstruction is going to be an improvement to the site, modernizing of it. So we would recommend approval contingent upon a note indicating the dumpster is no longer, second dumpster location is no longer required, installation of additional street trees, and the removal of the non-compliant pole sign, and details for proposed compliant ground sign being submitted on a revised site plan.
Did we look at the dimensions of that? I mean, what tree is going to fit? 'Cause
Right,
there's not a
that's-
lot of green, there's not a lot of
Yeah, I'm not a
space there.
landscape architect, so I'm not
Look
sure.
to Taco Bell. We have 4 next door in a much smaller space.
Was it
Part of
smaller?
it is that, yeah.
Can you show us the location of the trees, proposed location?
Well,
Well, it's, so.
Are they on their property line, or they're not on the right of
I had it at
way?
work. I ran out. So I did a Google Street Map again, and then, but I've seen it before, countless times. Then I get back home, right? And I remember when we did this that we had 4 on the property immediately to the north for Taco Bell. So And what we suggested was something for their space, something columnar. And they put in ginkgos. So they can, as they mature, they will fill that space out, but not completely block out, the front of their building and where it's situated. It's not going to create too much grief for them.
So those little Taco Bell trees are going to grow someday into big trees?
They've actually survived, as opposed to some in some other areas. So, and they will, they'll grow tall and straight like a conifer would, right? So, not to necessarily say that, we want to continue that, right? Because, again, we have to be conscientious as far as our biodiversity and what we plan on putting into street trees, right?
But I'm looking at that, and
Yeah.
first of all, Taco Bell doesn't have the same street or a light to deal with, and they also have much more space going back. So you're saying there is sufficient?
You have, what is it? What's the dimensions of the green space?
Well, I don't really see it on here, unless I'm missing it.
That's the Taco Bell.
Yeah, it comes back further.
Where is it?
But they have one out in front of their sign. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
exactly
know, but
right.
where's the measurements?
Oh, they actually have part
Yeah,
of
that's
their.
what I'm saying. I don't see the footage.
No, that's fine. Okay.
No.
So,
Yeah, the site plan doesn't have it dimensioned, but I will say, comparing the
3 or 4 feet.
property lines in from Oakland County Property Gateway, their property lines do go to the sidewalks. So in
Oh,
terms
they
of,
do? Okay.
So in terms of the private property available to them,
Yeah.
it is the that area.
well, I'll say this, it's certainly wider than the space that they were planning on putting 3 red maples over at Mata, right?
True. That's true.
So, and I guess, I don't have, I'm sure I could dig my notes up in the minutes, as far as the desire, but I think that may have actually been proposed originally in their site plan, basically in accordance with what we were trying to accomplish and the messaging, to the applicants as far as what we were looking for. So obviously they came in, they didn't want to have any trees, right? Your suggestion is, now will 2 fit the requirements for every 30 feet in here, or that's longer than that? So they actually should have more.
Let's see, the lot is, it's 117 feet wide.
Okay.
So then,
3,
3,
yeah,
maybe you round up, yeah.
instead of 4. I mean, I'm considering as far as remaining consistent, right? So we have a property owner who went through the same
Exactly.
refacing, same
Exactly.
design. They did extensive landscaping. It looks marvelous. And that, we've got somebody coming next door. It's like, oh, not only do I want my pole sign, but I don't want any trees.
Exactly.
We've got to stay consistent.
That 117 feet, is that the whole frontage?
Yes, that's the whole frontage from the north to south, so that includes the driveway space.
Okay, so minus the driveway, what do we got left?
That's a good question. I would think at a minimum, you take out 20 to 25 feet, because you need 10 foot per aisle width at the minimum. So you're taking out at least 20.
That's the Taco Bell.
So maybe down to 100.
Just
And then
Or
divide
190.
that probably based on
I don't
the
think so.
overview, we're looking at
This is the windy
2/3 on the one side and 1/3 of that on the other side.
Correct, yes.
I predict they're gonna come back and not want whatever tree.
I
don't see, I'm just looking at it,
Yeah,
I
right there.
don't see it.
So,
It's gonna
So-
interfere with the light when it grows, the 2 lights, which are inside, not on the, whatever that thing is.
Right at the entranceway to the
Yeah, the
driveway.
lights are a
They're
problem.
not on the outside like the one next door. They're not moving the lights, right?
No.
Okay.
no, the lights are inward facing.
Yeah.
But they're.
There's a pole. Right?
But they're on,
2 light
on their
poles.
property, not city property.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those light poles are in the very small, limited space that's available to plant a tree and put a monument sign.
No, wait, what are you talking about? They want to have the monument sign on the south side, right?
Right. Well, that's where the existing pole sign is.
So they have an entrance monument sign,
Right.
right, which
that's, a dandelion could, block that, right? So, I mean.
I'm just saying,
No,
there's
that's
not a
what
lot of
unmaintened.
space.
No, but if you look at the
maintained.
property next
Yeah.
to it, right,
Yeah.
there's even less space, and they have 4 trees in
Are
there.
you talking about Taco Bell?
Taco Bell.
No, Taco Bell has more space.
They don't have any lights either.
No.
They don't have any lights.
No, what I'm saying as far as, if you look at where the Taco Bell sign is, right, and I wish we could see it on the adjacent property, right?
Go ask
Oh, yeah. Oh, something funky.
Let's see what you got there.
But again, as far as their light is facing the driveway. It does not cast
get carried
light
away.
towards the north, where a tree would be.
Which one's that?
On the north side of
Wendy-
the.
on the Wendy's
On the
property?
Wendy's side. Yeah.
Yeah, they're facing the Wendy's itself.
I'm thinking about the canopy when it starts growing out when the tree
Yeah,
gets
but
big.
as far as, okay, so my point was that if you look at as far as what the intent was as far as Taco Bell, right? If they want to continue that, those trees, for that section, again, I would like to have a different,
Yep.
Show me
but you get it,
where
right?
the trees are going to go.
Okay.
Show me where you're saying. Because
So it does look
Taco
like,
Bell has the light out here,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
so that
Two
makes.
trees there.
so
Right
two
there.
on the north,
there.
2 on the
in that
north.
little
Then go to
area.
Wendy's now.
They're heading south. You got a tree there.
So and their tree is right in front of their sign. Not necessarily what I would have planted it, but, that's what they did.
That's
All
not a
right.
tree, that's a bush, right there.
Not that, no, I'm talking on the Taco Bell side.
But I'm saying where in this limited space with those 2 lights and where in this, very small.
Right there.
It's either too
Right
close
there.
or too far.
You're going to plant a tree right
I see,
where?
I
Right
can
in
see
the
one
middle.
tree there.
Like their pickup window sign.
I
Right
see
there.
one tree there, now go on the other side.
Yeah, go on the other side.
Because I agree,
Just turn
one tree
around.
there.
Just turn around. Yeah, there it is.
Me
Okay.
or them?
Yeah. So, right,
Yeah,
so
Pokey pokey up there, Mario.
all right. So I don't know, can you scroll up to see the sign? It's the light?
Yeah, the sign's going to drop down to 8
The
foot.
light- Yeah, okay. So that light is not facing the street, it's facing their property,
Okay.
right? So as far as anything that would be, on the other side, it's not going to impede the light that's being cast down towards the property, right?
Oh, we're not questioning that part.
No.
It's just that Taco Bell's light is on the city property.
Taco Bell's light is on the city property.
That's a city
Yeah.
light.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
road.
this is a Cobra head, right? Well, LED.
okay.
Okay, so in essence,
And they also have a parking lot light there, too.
And, which is, again, facing their property.
But
facing
way
that.
away from the trees. I mean, that's fine if you think. I just,
You
I
have
know
plenty of
everything-
space there, because you
Okay,
have
you
about
do.
as much space there as you do on the other side of the Taco Bell sign with the cutout of the green space on the north side of their little
Driveway.
walkway, right?
So it's going to come out
If we're
looking,
approving this contingent on them coming back with an actual landscape. With
They
the
would
trees.
need to
Yeah.
come back with it,
Right?
absolutely.
So-
Because they're not going to
come
plant
out-
it this season
it's going
anyway.
to come
so
out
they
looking
can
much like
come
we're
back.
seeing here with Taco Bell, right? It's gonna
Actually,
be
yeah, it really would,
a
because they have the
ground
same
sign like that with a
configuration.
tree right next to it.
They can continue that and through their property.
Have some shrubs.
That
Right.
far-
And I'm not, again.
What kind
as
of
far-
trees are those?
Those are
Glenn?
ginkgos.
The ones they have right
Those
there?
are ginkgos. Yeah.
So it's going to look very similar to this.
Very similar. So if they want to throw something different at the southeast corner to mix it up.
So like
right?
2 trees right here.
Well, you can put just one on that side.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not going crazy on that side, right? So,
Yeah.
I concur
One
with
tree
that.
there. And one tree.
trust me, I was doing this at work, and I'm like, yeah, this is, and then you put it into 3D. Wow. But as far as, then we have to concern ourselves as far as on the south side, right? So those shrubs are coming out, I would expect.
Right.
Right? They'll have to have some ground monument sign that meets our standards, right? Brick base or whatever, and you'll need something to surround that for landscaping, right? So, yeah, can you go south on Main?
So you got plenty of space right there.
Yeah, there's quite a large area there.
And
Yeah,
they,
that's
you know,
true.
and as far as
Scoot it
we've
back.
planted, the city has apparently, street trees, was it school?
School.
Yeah, this is school right here.
Yeah. So, and there's very limited space where they've got those, and they seem to be doing, you know, marginally okay. The maple's a little worse for wear, but I don't know when this picture was taken.
August 2018.
Okay, well, looks so it's stressed out, okay.
Do we
that
take
makes sense.
anything into consideration about planting these trees on the corner for traffic coming out of the side streets?
With the, definitely they should be deciduous, because then they won't be in the clear vision zone. That's between 7 feet and 36 inches.
Branches have to be clear at 14, right?
Is it 14?
I don't know. I want to say that is, because they certainly came through the city back 15 years ago and limbed up every tree at about that
14
height.
feet?
Well, I think that's what they used, never that they should have. That's a different
Yeah.
story. So, but,
With modern F-150s and
yeah,
everything,
well, it was,
yeah, they
you know,
probably
it
would
was
sit
the,
higher.
it was the
than-
height of the ash trees, right? We're taking everything down. There's no more
okay.
things to cut. We might as well cut the branches down of all their trees, right?
Right.
But,
Because of the way they got the sidewalk configurations now with
Yep.
the zebra stripes?
Yep.
Where they kind of curved it around.
Okay, so they're going to have to come in front of us with landscaping plans.
Yep.
Before approval on this.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, and not that this has anything to do with us, but I'll be fascinated to see when they put that stuff in across the street, because that's going to kind of change everything. It's going to be a whole different
Oh,
look.
right.
Traffic and everything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right there.
so they're not changing, right? So there's only right turn only out of there, right? They're not changing traffic patterns
Allegedly.
outside.
For the,
Suggestively, yeah.
No, there's a sign.
Yeah, there's time.
It's suggested that you don't.
Does Troy have similar, because that other side of the street is theirs, do they have similar sign requirements and type stuff that we have in the sense of consistency?
just to.
I mean, you know, one side of the street's
Right.
giant pole signs, and we're saying, no, you can't have them. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just
No,
saying.
but just colloquially, just you go down the street right here, that Arby's is relatively new.
That's a new sign, yeah.
And that sign is
A pole sign,
a pole sign.
yeah. That's what I'm wondering.
They might have a situation in which they are encouraging ground monument, yet they're allowing, if they have an existing one, to reface them or something. I'm not familiar with their standards.
Okay, any other
KFCs.
questions?
So as far as they need to come back, is
Yes,
what we're
they're gonna have
saying.
to, yeah.
Okay.
You want to make a motion to that effect?
Do we just direct them to come back? We're not taking a motion to have them come back, are we, or?
What, it seems like just
Well,
based
we're
on the
considering
recommendation, one of the conditions would be that they would come back with completed, as part of the site plan, a completed landscape plan, in addition to, for example, a revised dumpster enclosure.
But we'd have to vote on
sign.
that, right? Yeah, so should they come back all at once for this, or are we saying that we'll agree to everything else except for the landscaping? And if that's the case, do we need to make a motion on it?
If you wanted to do that, I think you possibly could, because Jim, it's not, with regards, mainly I'm hesitating is because they, for some reason, are very adamant they want to get going.
Sure.
Yeah.
As everyone that approaches us typically
and
seems to
it's-
be, especially since this is interior redoing. Jim,
Well, tell them take it or leave it. We tell them what they're putting in, and
Because my concern
Right.
is that they'll say, okay, we'll get started, yeah, we'll get to it, right?
Right.
And then what happens is they come back in and they're holding up for landscaping,
right.
right? Again,
Well, the landscape is going to be the only part that's going to hold them up, right? I mean, they can do the dumpster enclosure
Yeah.
problem, and they can.
But they're looking for a
Take their pole
TCO,
sign
I
down.
imagine, right?
Well, they're looking for
Exactly.
To
building
remodel the
Looking for
interior of the building.
Yeah.
They're looking to remodel the interior of the building, so
Yeah.
they want permits.
But what I'm saying is, can't we simply say, approve it, that they have to do whatever, the things we're saying for landscaping, and if they don't like it, they have to come back.
That's true.
I mean, here's your approval.
So
Here's
we're
what
going to
we-
suggest that we're holding the possibility of shutting Wendy's down for not having a tree in front.
Well, get-
Because we decided to go ahead now, as opposed to just wait, right? They're really adamant. we've got 3 weeks before our next, well, when's our next
Yeah.
one?
Our next meeting
Handy dandy schedule.
January 8th.
Which is actually pretty quick after the new year.
Yes.
I don't need a mic.
That's my perspective, right? So who's going to be, what work is done between now and Christmas? Or any over the holiday? You may have some, right? You plan on taking your vacation, I assume, right?
Yes, I am between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
So you just want to see them here?
Can they come up with something that's that fast?
It sounds like they're in agreement with
I mean, as long as we have an agreement with that,
the items.
right? Because the representatives in here to push back, and that's my concern, right? If we
Right.
say this is what we want, they say no, we're just doing it anyway, and have the TCO, right? Again, my concern is shutting them down for a tree.
Just like a group did out at Great Lakes Crossing.
Yeah,
I don't want to be associated with that group.
right.
So I want to be proactive, get them going, but at the
I'm
same
fine with making them come
time,
back. He's the one saying they want it now. I'm fine. They should. I mean, I don't understand why it wasn't on there in the first place. How do do we ever not have a landscaping thing?
well, the other thing too is that they may have pushback on the pole sign too, or are they? You said though. I'm sorry, I take that.
I'm
Sounds
waiting
like they're in
for that.
agreement on that.
Well, they initially provided me with pushback, but I told them this is the ordinance, and due to the fact that they want to get going, they right now are okay with.
Well, here's the
changing.
problem with that, is that we don't know because nobody's ever bothered to come in front of us and explain it, but we already know that Pep Boys came in for variance for a pole sign, was supposed to be monument because same rules. We didn't give them a variance in the ZBA, we got overruled, there's a sign up there, we still don't know why or how, or you never explained to us.
Right.
So now we've got Wendy's coming in and saying, well, Pep Boys got it, so why don't we get it? And by the way, Troy has different rules, and we've got, we're on the
No,
same street.
I think what they're saying is they could be compliant with what we're requesting.
Well, I'm saying they can come back and
They can change
say-
their mind.
They can change their mind and come in for a variance, not get it, and then do the same game and file, say, well, we're going to file a lawsuit, and we settle. I'm just saying, I don't want to just take it on faith that this is going to happen, because we already have evidence that it might not.
You'd like to hear from the applicant.
I agree, but, they're.
And honestly, to prevent that kind of situation from happening, obviously the best way to do that is have a site plan in front of you that you approve that has everything, that has a ground monument sign,
Yeah.
that has the appropriate trees, that has the appropriate landscaping, and has that all. Yes, they want to get going, but
But
that's-
construction hasn't started yet.
Yeah, exactly.
It hasn't started, right? So
Right.
they can run the business while they're finishing the plan. I can't imagine they're going to stop and shut everything down before this. They'll work very quickly and
Right,
they'll
exactly.
turn this back around with the landscape
That's a
plan.
thought, right?
Correct.
And I think then we have a conversation. We're able to have a conversation.
Yep. Right. And honestly, moving forward, that, in my experience, the most effective way to make sure that you have a leg to stand on is by saying, this is on the site plan, this is what we approved, you must do this.
Okay, then I say,
Right.
make a motion to say no.
Well, no, I don't want to say no. So, is it a recommendation or a motion that we need?
Well, it says we're supposed to.
Yeah, it'd be a motion that you
It'd be a
advise the
motion.
applicant to provide a revised site plan.
Revised site
It includes
plan, yeah.
landscaping
Okay.
and signage. And
With a date to
dumpster.
reappear as they desire.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion that we hold off site plan approval for 1421 North Main Street with the expectation that the applicant provide a revised site plan submitted to the city for review, which includes a monument sign, revised or added landscaping, or revised and added landscaping to include no less than 3 street trees, and also to indicate that the second dumpster is no longer required, and that they appear at their discretion within 2019.
Support.
Have motion, have support. Roll call, please.
Mr. McHale?
Yes.
Ms. Prowse? Yes. Ms. Scripture?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Audia?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Kucera?
Agenda item number 7, I'm not quite sure what this is, consultant opinion discussion. Who put this on the agenda? What's this all about?
Council.
Well,
They did, it's true, they did.
City Council asked that this be put on the agenda.
Oh, that's the way you worded it, okay.
That's how it got worded. So,
Thank you, Mario.
yes.
We'll,
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Mario.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very
we'll
much.
see you on Thursday.
So, we have the consultants both here. Should you have any burning questions that were not answered, I hope you are all able to read the proposals, take a few moments or a handful of moments to watch the videos of their presentations, their initial presentations, and from last week. So we have the representatives here, just like I said, to answer any burning questions you may have. But really, council would like the summary of your opinions.
Council, can't they read minutes or watch videos too?
Very, very vague that they were on that.
Just saying.
Did everybody,
Well-
did everybody open the little packet with the 3 icons in it?
It was,
Yes.
it was difficult to do, but yeah.
And for some reason, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get mine open.
It took a little bit
Yeah,
of
it's
effort,
on the
but it happened.
try.
Yeah,
We
mine.
I
had-
was unsuccessful here in the room, but I was able to do it at a different location.
Yeah, and only
we
on my
had some
phone.
experimentation
Okay, so it wasn't
trial
just me.
emails going.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
Part of the experiences that I saw on the video of city council and what they were looking for from us was a summary of our discussions, but highlighting the qualities of the applicants, basically on what's their experiences, their uniqueness, imagination as presentations, and the challenges for the future. And these were some of the categoricals that they were focusing on for our discussion.
Indeed, and these were also the same sort of categories that were kind of outlined in the RFP process, and so those types of answers should have been reflected, I think, in the proposals.
The proposals were rather lengthy. The Giffords and Webster was 57 pages, and Beckett and Reeder was 34 pages, which I would have preferred to look at in paper, but I managed to muddle through on my screen, but bouncing back and forth. It's hard when you're trying to compare Group 1 and Group 2, and you have to keep flying back and forth.
I have 2 screens for that.
I always find it's better to read one, take notes, read the other, take more notes, then compare, but, future reference.
Your phone doesn't allow
I
that.
think when I watched the council meeting, they were asking us just to have a simple open forum discussion on this. They didn't really want us to take a vote one way or the other, or strong opinions. I just made a couple notes to myself here, pluses and minuses, if I might. Giffords and Webster is a Birmingham company. Beckett and Reeder is in Ann Arbor, so geographically.
Just so you know, it's Beckett and Rader.
Beckett and Rader?
Yes.
Okay, so
R-A-E.
geographically, I think I'd prefer the company in Birmingham. Giffords also, they worked on our Clawson master plan.
Yes, the DDA master plan and the associated DDA zoning ordinance updates as well.
Yep, so they've been around Clawson for a while, they know that. It seems to me that Beckett, they did some work for Roseville, Trenton, and Lincoln Park, so that's about as close as they've been to our area here. Giffords and Webster says they will attend development team meetings on Thursdays, and Beckett's comments seem to be that they would make recommendations, not necessarily attend those meetings, but make recommendations.
I will clarify, that is, no, they will be here. That was one of the requirements of the RFP, is
that they attend.
they would, the selected consultant needs to attend all the planning commission meetings. They need to attend all of the development team meetings and host office hours on Thursday to coincide with those, so.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Well, the one last thing I have is that the last item, not that money's of interest to us, but
Yeah, it is.
to city council, it should be. It seems to me that Giffords-Webster has a lower monthly rate than Beckett and Reeder. That's
Do we have both
what I
of them here?
Yes, we do.
Before we kind of dig into some of these thoughts that we're talking about, could we give them like maybe 2 or 3 minutes each to say something to us and summarize or something? Just a couple minutes?
I mean, that's up to you.
Since they're both here and they're sitting here and they're going to
Oh.
listen to
It's
us
up to
beat them up
you.
over
I
the
mean,
next 20 minutes
there-
about what we like or don't like, you know?
They want to-
Neither one, just so you know, neither one of them, I did not ask them to come
I don't want a
prepared with a
giant
dog and pony
presentation.
show,
I'm
right?
asking
Elevator,
for a
is that-
five,
You want an
Are you guys
elevator
cool with
pitch?
doing a 2-minute elevator
But
pitch?
to be
Yes,
fair,
there you go,
though.
elevator pitch.
But to
Give
be
us your-
fair, are they
Nice job.
prepared to give an elevator pitch?
Wait a minute.
Hold on a second.
No, that you should be on your
No,
feet and ready to give a pitch.
yeah, but do we have the right representatives? I guess I would expect so.
Yes, these
but-
are the
okay,
two
so,
representatives
okay.
that have been providing their the fabulous presentations. So I think in terms of individuals, these are the two of the individuals that are appropriate. Got it.
Tap shoes, top hat.
And I present, this is Ben Tellerico. He is one of the planners with Beckett and Reeder.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Yeah, we found out today to be here, so I do apologize for my
Apologies on
attire.
us, to be honest with you.
Unshaven and not prepared, but I am here. I'd like to say that I have known the major people at Giffords and Webster, so I think it's a fine firm, too. I have known Ms. Baum, and I really do respect that firm, so kudos to the process that brought us and them at the final, too. I have done planning and development for a long, long time. I teach at grad school, along with serving a multitude of clients, and I've worked in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors when it comes to planning. I have staffed a building department, I have staffed a planning firm as the managing principal, and I have staffed nonprofits where I've done low-income housing, market-rate housing, main streets. As for the location, us planners, and I think Ms. Baum will agree, we're always on the road. In fact, I don't go to Ann Arbor much anymore. I pretty much meet with my clients, whether they're in Groveland or whether they're in Marysville or Roseville or Trenton or wherever. I know we could do the job. I know we have no problem being here. I do not have any issues with being here on Thursdays, being here on Tuesdays. My day's pretty open. Teaching grad school, I usually do it at night, and it does not interfere with your meetings. And with that, that's my quick overview, and if you have any particular questions before I turn it over to Ms. Baum, I'd gladly answer them.
How large is your organization?
Oh, we're probably, I think now about 40 people. We have landscape architects, we have engineers, we have environmentalists, we have planners. We're a multidisciplinary firm. I think you saw at the last presentation, we reconfigured the church on Main Street that reduced the curb cuts and allowed it to be more conforming. That's because we have a full, we're not, certainly other firms do, but we have a full-service firm.
So do you have any clients outside of Metro Detroit and outside of the state of Michigan?
We have had clients in Ohio. We do a lot of work. We've done a lot of work there. I don't. I can't speak for the rest of the staff, but all my clients are Michigan-based. I've had clients in Ohio in the past.
In what area?
Perrysburg, Toledo.
Okay.
How good are you at landscaping?
What do you know about
Well,
trees?
doing this for the amount of 30-plus years, I was watching and listening to you, and I want to applaud you because I'm better at landscaping than I was 30 years ago. I certainly do not claim to be a landscape architect because I'm not. But I do want to applaud you because I think the landscaping is so critical in communities to give you that visual, that appearance. It's your front door, and many communities don't do it. And so I listened to your debate, obviously, your discussion on it, and I think that's what you need. You need the landscaping in front. That's why Clawson works, and that's why it will continue to work, because you have the right designs. You have the right structures. You have the right building materials that you require. And that, it's hard work to build a great city. It doesn't happen easily. Cities work because people take their time
And, whether it's the Plan Commission, the council, the consultants, the engineers, but it takes everybody involved to work hard. And that's why some cities work and some don't. And if you drive to Clawson, you can see that you guys are ones that are making it happen. And I noticed that with your landscape reviews today. I thought that was excellent, so I applaud you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jill Boehm. I'm with Giffords Webster. As you know from reading some of our materials, our 58 pages, sorry it was so lengthy, our firm is a multidisciplinary firm as well. We are civil engineers, planners, surveyors, and landscape architects. We have 3 offices. We have an office in Detroit. We have one in Birmingham, where I'm based out of, and we have one in Washington Township. Most of our planning team is in the Birmingham office. As you noted, we are just about 5 to 7 minutes away, really, and can get here quickly. And that's one of the things that we like about the potential opportunity to work with you, is that it's a close-by neighborhood community. For myself, I have a background. I've been in the planning profession for a little over 20 years, and I've worked in a variety of settings. I've worked as a consultant now for a little over 10 years, and I love working with the variety of communities that we have and our clients, anywhere from cities with downtowns to more suburban areas to more rural townships, and the variety of projects that we get to work on on a daily basis is really fun. And it's interesting being able to share what one community might be struggling with, or the solutions one community is developing, and be able to share that with other communities that we have in common. But in addition to that, I've also served as a DDA director for Highland Township out in western Oakland County. That's where I became a fan of the Main Street Oakland County program, and have been involved with that program while I was there in Highland, got them into the Main Street program, and then have been on the board for Main Street Oakland County for about 10 years now. And so I really think that it's a good structure that communities can use, with a lot of good resources to improve their downtown areas. And then before that, I worked as a city planner. I worked as a city planner for the cities of Royal Oak and Birmingham for several years. So I've got kind of a variety of experience, understand what it means to be in the city setting, in terms of being a staff planner, as well as from the private side, what folks go through. This has been a unique process that you're going through here. In the selection process, I would say that it's nice that it's down to us and Beckett Rader. I likewise would reciprocate the compliments to Ben, because I've known him for a long time as well. And I think that's okay, that it's a unique process. You are a unique community. That was one of the things that we observed with you when we were working on your downtown master plan. That was loud and clear from the beginning. We don't want to be Royal Oak. We don't want to be Troy. We want to be Clawson, and we want to help you be the best Clawson that you can be. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
If council hires you, would you be the representative, or is there someone else from your team?
I would be, but we have a team approach. So
Yeah.
Joe Tangari, also from my office, and Rod Arroyo when we need additional assistance. But it's an approach that works really well for us. We are team planners for several different communities, which is great when we have the potential meeting conflict that sometimes arises. It's fairly seamless. We talk daily, throughout the day, just on a variety of different things, and so we're always up to speed on what's going on.
We may not see the same face here all the time, but we're going to be getting the same information then.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question. If we could ask Ben the same question.
Yeah.
No, I would be the person here. I have kept these days open. I will be here on your Thursdays in your day, at night, and then Tuesdays for your meetings. I think in Roseville, I've been there about 15 years. I think I missed 2 meetings. And in Trenton, again, 15 years, and I probably missed 1 or 2. So I will be the face unless, God willing, something happens. I am the person that will be here for everything.
Okay.
So in other words, you're both down to the 2 finalists, per se, for council to decide upon, and obviously you like Clawson, or you're interested in Clawson, and are the main goals, do you foresee anything on that? as far as anything in future development related to your staff as it is now? In other words, you wouldn't have an interest in Clawson unless you saw potential, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting community. I think Ms. Baum said it well, how, you like to work in different places, and that's what's great about being a planner. You get to go to rural areas and urban areas, she said, but Clawson seems to be the size and the type of a community that's going to continue to progress. Like I said, I've seen it in the way you discuss landscaping, which again I think is critical. We're looking to work with communities that we think we could work well with. And from what we've seen from Clawson through the process, I think you're right, it's a unique process. We compete with each other all the time. Places do it differently. I've known Ms. Proust, Commissioner Proust, from our years in Oakland County. So yeah, I think it's a place that we would look forward to, and we wouldn't go after it. I'm going to let her speak. I don't want to take all the time. But there's RFPs that we don't go after because, you hear about the community, you hear about the struggles. It's just not worth it. If we couldn't do our job, if we couldn't think we could work well with you, we wouldn't be here. And I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm sure she's going to say the same thing.
I would say the same thing, because and totally agreeing that we can be selective, but we choose to put our resources for proposals towards a community like yours, like you. We like to spend time here. We shop here. We eat here. We drive through. We live nearby. So it's one of the reasons why we'd like to continue to work with you.
Well, congratulations to you both for being finalists anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, the decisions are going to be made by council, obviously, and thank you both very much for your pitches, and I enjoyed the whole thing. We're only here to hear and comment, but we make no decision in this matter. It's up to them. I wish you both.
Thank you so much.
That's a lot.
And I think it's good that you are a part of this process, and maybe it didn't fall the way that you all would have liked to see it fall from the ordering of things. Mm-hmm. But we think it's important that you're involved, and it's good. So we'd urge you to think carefully and provide your thoughtful comments to the City Council.
All right.
Thanks.
And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
You too.
Thank you much.
Yeah, Council, that's 5 members, right? That would make the decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Is everybody done with that? We want to move on? No other comments?
I want to thank you both.
Yeah. So we heard them out. Let's move.
Well, I'm curious though, because I was understanding what council wanted was a summary of all of your opinions, and I don't know if that's. I don't feel like I got it, so I'm just curious. I want to make sure that we are providing them exactly what we want. I mean, I know, yes, Mr. Kucera, you had your comments. I don't know if that is. If everyone else agrees, I just want to make sure that I understand and that we're providing council with everything that they've asked.
Included in the discussion, and they want us to be aware of what's going on, but not necessarily vote on the matter because it's not our.
Oh, I wasn't expecting a vote. I just was, like I said, they wanted a summary of opinions. That's what I heard, and so I just want to make sure that that's what we're going to be giving them.
Does anyone feel?
Well, it's just from my perspective, as far as what I've heard, is what I wanted to hear. Right, I appreciate the perspective as far as being here for a meeting for the first place. Right, it shows that that's your dedication just there in and of itself. That. But also your opinions as far as, I've been on this board for a while, and one thing that I've tried to accomplish is putting my perspective on landscaping, and I appreciate the comments in that regard, and like to see that that's mirrored in the future, because sometimes it seems like it's been a broken record as far as people coming up, and here's the site plan, and like again. Where is what we're looking for? The message keeps going out that we need to see thoughtful presentation, not just on the building, but the property as a whole and what it represents for our community. That's the face that we represent, and that's our only opportunity at that point in time to get right and correct when it comes to the overall presentation. And it seems it's always an afterthought, something that's forgotten about, dependent upon the architect that doesn't have,
I put 3 trees. What do you want me to do? And that's kind of the, I'd like to, continue to improve on that and put a little bit more pressure on the applicants to really put that type of thought into it. And so far, as far as from both of you, that's what I heard.
And
Well-
just,
Sorry,
just a couple quick comments. One, I heard somebody mention a little bit ago, I think you mentioned it, Greg, the fee schedule, and I was just looking a little bit more closely at that, and I know it's a weird conversation to have with everybody in the room, but I think it's just that the way they break down their cost in the sample invoices was just a little different. If you pull out the site plan review component and you look just at the retainer, I think they're almost actually the same, right around $5,000. So I think just the way they've laid it out is a little different. So that's why one might be skewed a little bit high. It's just something to look at for council to keep in mind.
The forms were different, so it was confusing to try to hit a number from it, yeah.
Right. And then just in terms of just a couple things that I noticed that I thought I'd point out that I liked from each of the firms, Beckett and Rader, and full disclosure, Ben is not on contract with me at the county, so just but we work together on a couple projects, so I just wanted to make that clear that I'm not paying him for services right now. But I did like Beckett and Rader's kind of hard line on TCOs in the memo that they provided, kind of you maybe should not be doing this unless you absolutely have to. I kind of liked that very direct recommendation for how we evaluate TCOs, and I appreciated that. And then from the Giffords team, I really liked the presentation style, with the graphics and the kind of PowerPointy style that kind of grabbed my attention in terms of how Giffords kind of presents themselves and comes to meetings. So just a couple things for council to kind of consider, things that stood out to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, that was kind of the reason for my questioning, too, was just to get a feeling of the relationship between our discussion with them and their discussions with us, just how comfortable we would feel, too, with either one of them on that.
I think we're very lucky. I think they're 2 very good firms.
Because for council to ask us for a summary, now you're trying to be selective. And basically, we have 2 good candidates in front of us.
Right.
I would just add, just to Melissa's last point, I think it's two well-respected, well-known firms, and I think there's definitely pros and cons. I also, in terms of presentation, just getting a sense of what would be coming here, I would have to say I probably prefer but anyone can do this, like the PowerPoint presentation type style of visuals. So I think that's just helpful. While I appreciate the budget considerations, you get different things at different price points, and I think hopefully council doesn't focus solely on that aspect of what the firms both offer. I think statewide reach, regional reach, I think thought leadership. I think we're lucky to be in this position with two solid firms, and excited in either direction. So it's a very agnostic point of view at this point, but it is what it is.
You think that might answer? Council?
I think so. I feel I now have a broader view of what all your opinions are. So,
I want to add, because I didn't throw it. The one thing that I am really looking for, it would be, because we got delayed on the whole ordinance thing.
Right.
So, and we already know, even for whatever reason, these haven't been coming to us, but there was talks about, how horrible our ordinances are, and this is a mess, and this is why this got, whatever, overturned. So obviously we need to work on our ordinances. We obviously have issues there, and looking for a couple things: inspiration, creativity in approaches to how we do that. I'd like to see them easier to understand for normal people. I'm not a normal person, and I have a hard time. I took this nonsense in college, and I actually was a planner for the city of Battle Creek for a while, and I still don't get half of these ordinances. I have to, hurt my. But so it would be nice to have them written, to really work on. There's a lot of stuff to work on, and I just want the people we work with to be really creative, inspired, and to help us go through that process in a real positive way. And looking at what some of the trends and some of the, be very forward-thinking with our ordinances.
Yes.
About what we create.
Darren? Come on, you're the only one.
No, it's as the newest member of the Planning Commission, I believe I am, less than a year. This would be our third city planner in less than a year, right?
Yeah.
So consistency would be nice. We all have areas of expertise sitting up here, and we're here for a reason, to provide a service to the community. And so what I'd be looking for is someone who's going to bring value to our expertise as well, right? And so we can't go wrong with either form. And it's a tribute to the city of Clawson and the state that we're in right now that we have two quality firms like that wanting our business. So that's exciting to see.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you once again, and best of luck, both of you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to agenda item number 8, which is the 2019 calendar of meeting dates, discussion and adoption.
Greg, could we I'm sorry, I totally slipped my mind. I wanted to ask, do you know what I don't know what the timeline is, like next steps for council, when they're going to make a decision, or what the next?
Nope.
You're not sure? Okay.
Nope. I am
They could
optimistic.
at their next meeting.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that they're gonna at least have a discussion.
Yeah.
Next week?
Tuesday.
Okay.
I don't know. Not privy.
Okay. Calendar dates?
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna throw out there, I did not put the last December meeting on there because it fell on the 24th. So I figured I wasn't even gonna bother to put it on the calendar and have you guys reject it. So, but it keeps the meeting second and fourth. Same time, same bat channel.
Do we need to discuss them, or do we just approve them, or adopt them?
I think you just need to approve them. Or adopt them, rather.
Hey, motion man.
I just, I was going through it before as far as, okay, is there any ones that stand out as being possibly conflicting, but next year is not an election year for the most part, right? So we're at the...
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
that's right. Was the 12th, would that be the...
November 12th?
That's not election. It would be the city council.
November 12th, no, because election day is the first.
Okay.
Yep.
First Tuesday, so no.
Okay.
That will not conflict.
Okay.
I'll do it, Glenn.
That's fine.
Okay. I'll make a proposal that we accept. I'm getting there. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we accept the calendar for the year 2019 as presented.
Support.
I have a motion, I have support. Roll call, please.
Ms. Prowse.
Yes.
Ms. Scripture.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mr. Audia.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mr. Casera.
Yes.
Mr. McHale.
Yes.
Why, thank you, Susie. This
Yep,
is
thank you.
So welcome. So, wait, you guys are on item 9? Yes?
Well, we approved that, so now we'll open to public discussion. Anyone from the public here wish to say anything? It's rough when you know the public by name, Let's see, no one who wants to comment. I'll close public, and we'll move on to other business.
Okay, so I just passed out what Darren asked for, which is a list of TCOs.
Really small font.
It is
Yeah.
really small font, and I'll be honest, I'm a little frustrated with this piece of paper, especially because my piece of paper has all kinds of scribble on it that you don't want to see. We printed out all of the TCOs and all of the full C of Os that have been issued since 2015, and I cross-referenced them, and you ended up with this very short list. And I'm not entirely sure that this list is even correct because, for example, West Maple should have shown up on this list. I pulled it out. I pulled this list last week. And they are not on the TCO list. And so there's clearly a parameter that we're missing. I don't think we're missing too many, though. And we did, I've checked on, I've been able to check on most of them. For example, Sinclair Antiques, right? We had a $25,000 bond, but that bond was through engineering, so that was only for the concrete work. We actually don't have any bond for him right now. But for whatever reason, he doesn't have, at least he still shows up as having a TCO. I think he's actually supposed to have a full CO, just as Clawson Barbecue Dreams is. So I think some of these may be just straight up clerical. We haven't fixed it because the system as it is, it just shows you if it had a TCO and if it expired. It doesn't automatically kick you over to the full CO. Like if your TCO expired, but you got a full CO as a result, before that, it doesn't. That's not how it's shown in the system. It's kind of weird. So discount fabric, we had 5686 cash bond for those guys. Clawson CrossFit, we talked about them last week or at our last meeting, and they just renewed their $20,000 surety bond. Traffic Digital Agency, we had taken a $25,000 bond, and that was to cover landscaping, the knee wall, screen wall, some other exterior improvements. I'm pretty sure, again, that one is clerical and needs to be fixed because I'm pretty sure that they have a full CO right now. And Haberman Fabrics, they still have a little bit of site work, so we should have a $27,000 bond from them. But it's noted on here, I know in the super tiny font, it's first floor only. So they have no certificate of occupancy for the second floor. It's first floor only. So clearly we need to refine, but does this start to meet what you're hoping for?
Yeah, I'd like to.
This is kind of what we need, right? I mean, we
Right.
can keep a running tab of what's happening. We're not getting sidetracked on a monthly basis with new applicants coming in, and then we get these other ones get put by the wayside. And next thing you know, 6, 9 months, 12 months later, we're going, hey, what's going on with that one?
happened with that?
Right. So it would be nice if you cross-reference this. With C of Os. And
Right.
we gotta actually have an updated, correct list. That would be nice.
That's still my goal, right?
Thank you.
It's still my goal. So
No, I appreciate you doing it, though. Thank
and
you.
I promise I'll make it in bigger font next time.
But it's still, as far as for your for your opinion, this is still a work in progress. There's still items that
Yeah,
either-
it doesn't make sense to me why Mata Automotive wouldn't why they didn't show up on.
Why didn't they make the list?
They didn't show up on my first list, and they didn't show up on my second list, and so
This is one of the most current temporaries that we've issued
Yes.
and appointed, and it's not on the paperwork. Are we all supposed to just remember
I
this
think
stuff?
it's a system. I think it's something with how the project itself is put into the BSNA system,
Okay.
and making sure that the right. And I can honestly say I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, it could just be maybe a specific box didn't get checked, right, to populate into that report. Maybe there's some other parameter that has not been input, period, or maybe it was input incorrectly. So we just need to go back and double check. I'm still looking at this list though. I'm still fairly confident that this is pretty darn accurate. I don't think that there's too many that we've actually missed on this list.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, this is tracking temporary C of Os. There's other projects that we're dealing with that don't have temporary C of Os. Tavern on the Main, that was an existing restaurant that put an addition on.
Right.
They're not occupying the addition, so there's no temporary C of O for the addition. They're a fully operational business that went through the site plan review process. So this isn't tracking everything we got going on. Vintage Scoop just moved into Stitch and Time's location. So that was an existing business that went through the site plan review process, and a different retail business moved in. So that it's not getting caught on this also.
Well, they didn't need to come in front of us because it was similar use of the same building, right?
Right.
And the building was okay and approved by everything.
The Cappuccino Repair Place down on South Main moved up to East 14 Mile, and now I have a microblading that was on the second floor of Mabood's building, 11 West 14 Mile, moving into that location. Doesn't go through the site plan review process, but it's a new business that you guys usually question me, like, who's moving in where. So we got to work on this, and if we're just following temporary C of Os, we're not going to catch everything. So,
Jim, it's a great point. I mean, I was just thinking about Tavern on the Main the other day when I was driving by. I was like, wait a minute, they were in here a couple months ago. Really, all it was is we're saying you're out of compliance on your site plan approval. They complain about a neighboring property the entire time, but yet we never address the actual out of compliance on the site plan. So how are we going to keep track of that, and how are we going to get them back in here to deal with their site plan that still is out of compliance?
I'm only going to answer the first part of that. Tracking, we actually found a different module on BSNA. It's the planning and zoning module. And so it looks, based on what we've been able to research internally on how, the types of things that particular module can track and the different types of reporting that we're going to be able to hopefully pull from that. I think that will help us better synthesize this information and keep track of it. The downside to that is that BSNA cannot train us until like April. So we got to wait, and they won't let us download anything.
March,
April, whatever. I mean, next year. It's too long to wait, in my opinion. So in the meantime, we're going to have to, I think, continue to cobble together and just be more aware. My whiteboard's going to start looking a lot more green, I think.
So wait, you're saying you can't even access certain things in B&A until you're trained?
No, certain modules. We've got there's all kinds of different modules that I probably know nothing about, quite honestly. This was just one that, it's no problem for us to get it, but for whatever reason, we got to be trained before. So it's arranged before we can access it. So it's disappointing.
Do you have to pay more for those modules?
That's not part of my bag.
They're already on our system. We don't know how to use them.
Okay.
I mean, we could probably access them, but we don't know how to use them.
Yeah, we can't set them up. I mean, we can get to it, but we can't set the projects up the way it should be. So,
are either of those two firms good at that?
That was not a question I asked, or that council asked.
Excuse me.
I would have if I'd have known to back then. But since council's still looking for recommendations and opinions, or not recommendations, forgive me, Lord above,
Summaries.
opinions and summaries. But yes, it would be nice if one of them has a B&A experience that can, offer that kind of.
Well, and it'll be great moving forward, but we still have to get the module onto our, within the tree of options, right? So it's going to happen. Keeping track of them, I'm glad I have a good start with this, right? I think that there's just a different way we're just going to have to think about it differently and work with what we have right now.
Thank you for starting it, though.
Yeah, we're getting closer. The list I had here that Jim gave me on August 28th was the printed out list, which I thought was good but not complete. And I asked again and again and again, and now we're getting to this stage. And this is interesting what you handed me tonight, but according to this, the date temporary expires, all of these are expired.
Yes, I noticed that too.
So nobody has a temporary certificate of occupancy. I know for a fact Maida does, because we just gave them one.
Right. And I wrote that one down on the list,
And I'm
just
confused
FYI.
why it's not on this list, and I would like to see a comprehensive, up-to-date list of why, if they ran out, were they okayed? Did they do the work they were supposed to do, and they got a full occupancy? That's a good reason. Check off a box. Yeah, they completed.
And that's what I think we're going to find for Clawson Barbecue Dreams,
Probably a lot of
Sinclair
these, yeah.
Antiques, Discount Fabric, Traffic, and so I think honestly we're going to be, and now with Mita, I think we're honestly going to end up with 3 on there.
Okay.
I think it'll be Clawson CrossFit, Haberman's, and Mata. I think those are going to be the 3 that we end up with on that list.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a current, up-to-date list of, because we agreed to it temporary, Jim issues it temporary, and then it just seems like it goes away. It drifts off. We don't know if they completed what they were supposed to complete, or if we have to extend it for them.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I liked as part of, kind of going back to the Giffords and Beckett and Reader, and I don't remember, I think it was probably Giffords that had suggested it, but, really like setting up a form. I think they talked about it in their TCO supplemental question. Right. Setting up more of a form letter and just say, hey, you're 6 months out, you're 4 months out, and just give them a check and I think that will be really helpful.
Yeah,
so we don't end up with like 30,000 show cause hearings that go nowhere.
The technology is there.
Right.
We just have to figure out how to use it. Okay, anything else on other business?
I have just one thing. I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know. I don't know if you guys discussed reappointment of planning commissioners at that meeting or not.
I made sure that those that were expiring got renewals, but I didn't make any announcements.
Okay. This
That's
is my
what
last
you're talking
meeting.
about.
I am not seeking reappointment on the planning commission. I let council know earlier today, so hopefully you guys can find somebody who can come on board early in the new year.
No one can replace you.
Busy, hectic schedule and growing kids and.
Thank you very much for the.
Yeah, it's been great. I've loved it. It's been a fantastic experience. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll miss you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I have anything else. Do you have anything else?
Phone call from Nord Technologies. They're asking for more detail on the drawings they need for electric, plumbing, mechanical for the inside of their location. Mike Savoy Chevrolet. That site plan is proceeding very well. I don't know if we told you at the last meeting, they put gas pumps on the backside of their building so they wouldn't have to transport the cars back and forth to the BP gas station at, it would be 15 and Crooks. So that didn't change the design of the site plan in any way. It was directly behind their building in that existing parking lot area. And
all approved by engineering, I assume. It's all above board and.
Yep, approved by engineering and administratively through my department. So.
Okay.
That's not resale. That's just for their own.
Yeah.
Correct.
use.
Yeah, that's what they'll be doing is detailing cars in that location, and then I guess they ship their Corvettes in the wintertime, so they'll be storing cars in that location and then sending them to the dealership as the weather breaks.
Okay.
And they're running their main office in the front. So.
How's the drainage situation?
Yeah, they've resolved their issues with the underground piping and stuff like that for the drainage ditch, the old Oakland County drainage ditch along that way. Speaking of underground, I think I warned everybody that the Noble Fish expansion, that the plumbing underneath that location was in bad shape. It went out the front of the building. Now we're going to run it out to the side through that alley. They're going to change to a 1-inch water service and a 6-inch sewer going out the side of the building. One thing that is allowed by the plumbing code is an interior grease trap. We normally ask for exterior grease traps. That was something that we had missed, but since they're mostly sushi and they don't have very many fried foods in the Japanese, we're just letting it stay on the interior. It's a much smaller grease trap than what we normally require for like Wendy's or Taco Bell. So
They're not the only ones that would fry food in that area.
no, this is the plumbing that services there.
Oh, but as far as the grease, the capture, right?
Right.
None of the others have that, right?
The older restaurants
Yeah.
have interior ones. We've been requiring the newer restaurants.
Okay. Right.
Like when Taco Bell was remodeled, they had to have an exterior grease trap that you could access from the outside.
Okay.
Hey, what's the reasoning for that? Why would he want it outside?
Ease for cleaning it out and access for, in case of emergencies, that you can get to it instead of getting it clogged inside the building. And on the outside, you can have a much bigger pipe, access pipe, to pump it out.
Okay. Because most of those, they look like some mini dumpsters, right? And it looks like it's going to take you several months, I think, to fill one up. I don't know how often they empty them. But.
Yeah, the one that was approved in Three Cats Cafe underneath their sink, since they were just a lunch thing, was really a 3x3 box underneath the sink. So just filters the water that potentially has grease in it and lets the grease float up to the top, and the water flows out the bottom. So.
Okay.
I talked to Rafael about the Laundry Palace on trying to get him to give me an email or some written stuff on completing that. And we've had phone calls back and forth. He never did send me the email that he had promised by today, so I could send it to you. So I will give him another phone call tomorrow and see if I can get something to you to time frame for the facade change.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. Well, weather-wise, I don't know. If I'd be out there changing the facade on my building.
Well, he's cutting metal, so you could. I guess the effect of that front parapet would be the roof, and goofing it up this time of year.
Yeah.
Would be a problem because I believe it's a burned down tar roof. So
Is he holding up the signage for like the Laundry Palace? Because we approved signs. I mean, can
Yes,
the guy not
he's
put a
holding that
sign
up.
up because the facade's not done?
that's what brought it to our attention. Is the Laundry Palace wants to get the sign in. I can't let them put the sign in until the facade's done. If I let them put the sign in, then we'd have the sign in, then they'd have to pull
Take
it
it
off
down.
to redo the facade.
But they've
That
got a
puts-
banner that we've approved a banner for quite a while now, right?
Yeah. So
It's been over a year.
yeah, we're in a catch-22 on this one.
Yeah. That's where administration takes in. Appreciate that. Anything else?
To steal a line from George H.W. Bush, I feel like we got 1,000 points of light right now. So there's so many different things. Even the minutes from the last meeting, I don't think I addressed everything that you asked me to. So I'm working on it. I got some other stuff that we're working on. So as soon as I can get to the stuff, I'll get it to
Just
you.
want to point out the 459 North Rochester again, with the
Yes.
plywood on the
Yes.
north side and just the eyesore that it's become.
That was a mechanical contractors, and it turned into electrical. Now, those plywood, they had a right to open up those historic windows that were underneath that facade, and that's what the plywood's covering right now.
Okay.
So that's what, there's actually windows that were originally on that building, and we want more glazing in those two locations.
Okay.
So that's another thing that I looked into. I drove by and it's like, oh, and then I didn't put it on this list. So
All right, do they have a time frame on that, or?
I did not get a time frame. I just remember the original, seeing the windows on the inside and knowing that that was their game plan.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that'd be a great improvement if that's the case. So I have driven past the old House of Optical. Do we allow for cornhole tournaments at night in that location?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. I don't think that's.
In the parking lot?
No, inside the building.
Really?
Yes. I've driven
no.
past. I took a double day. Like, what are they doing in there? And they're playing cornhole.
I mean, that's kind of awesome in the unexpectedness of your statement, but no, I don't think that that's necessarily principally permitted use. I'd have to look into that, but I
like square dancing at Evolve when they were vacant too back in the day. We actually had a sign out.
Dance studios may be allowed in that particular area. I
but-
think recreational centers need to be in a slightly larger space.
No, my concern was that are they doing work and they're just goofing off?
really,
now, or-
I had no idea that was
No, I
going
had no
on,
idea.
so.
I don't even know what that property's owner's plans are. I've been trying to get in touch with them, and
There are empty cans on the bottom of the windowsills right out in front, and it's just, yeah.
I suppose maybe next time you see that kind of tournament happening, call the authorities.
Yeah, okay.
So we can join.
Has anybody gone to the new
Well, I
building?
suppose you could. You could call afterwards if
In
you
fact,
want.
I got to. I
I'm
still
not
have to
gonna.
pick up my eye prescription, or my eyeglasses, so, yeah. But, yeah.
Today was the first day of our interim city manager, Rich Haberman. He was our city manager 9 years ago. So he's working 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, and he's working till mid to end of March, I believe. So
Until a full-time city manager's found,
I
I'm assuming.
I believe at the last council meeting, did they vote to put an RFP together to hire a hiring firm to search for the city manager? I might be using the wrong terminology, but
Yeah, they're looking to hire a city manager, and Rick has been here before, and he only has a limited time. He can only spend a couple months with us.
12 weeks.
So he will be leaving at the end of that period, and hopefully that council will have somebody else at that point in time. Anything else that we haven't covered?
Go ahead.
I have a question. What was that thing that you presented to us last time? The
Colored charts?
what was it?
The chart thing with all the colors on it, I mean?
Yeah, the color chart, the color
RRC
chart, the pretty.
baseline.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Yes,
So-
that one.
That one. So I have a question. So one of
Yeah.
the items on the chart that was red,
Mm-hmm.
and you triggered it earlier when we were talking about appointments and everything, she doesn't need it. One of the things on the chart that was red was we don't have any criteria or skill set or whatever, I can't remember the exact words were, for how we select.
Yeah, our job description for our plan. I
Something
knew where you
like
were
that.
going. Yeah.
Whatever it was on there. But anyways, my question is, it seemed twofold. First of all, we're looking to appoint, with Melissa leaving, there's going to be at least one seat open, and depending on what they do with the rest of the seats. So question number one, who is responsible for setting that, whatever that criteria might be, whatever the language is, job description, however it is, who would be the one that would set that, and when would that happen, and when would it be applied? Because it seems like now would be a good time with appointing a new person.
I would concur with the now aspect. But there is something in the nerdy binder, right? There is something in our bylaws that talks about very briefly that planning commission should be comprised of professionals that have a wide variety of knowledge and skills
Well,
related
obviously,
to
it's not
planning.
good enough, or we wouldn't have got red.
Right.
So
I agree.
how do we
I agree.
expand?
I think it
How
needs
does
to be
that
something
happen?
that it probably needs to be something that's specifically on the application for starters. And I think that
Yeah, I was always surprised when I applied, it didn't even ask for a resume. I even offered one, and like, no, we don't need one. I'm
and
like,
I think
okay.
that it could be as simple as saying required attachments resume, right? 2 references, like any other job, really.
Well, but I think people applying would like to know the skill set that's being looked for. I think that should
Right.
be transparent.
My guess is that it would probably be some sort of collaborative effort between myself and Jim and the clerk to come up with a job description essentially for the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the boards that we're responsible for. I suppose we
cracking,
should
sister.
start doing that now.
Get cracking.
Yeah. Done.
Look at it. I mean, really, it shouldn't be too long. I mean, if we went from nothing to just a little paragraph, it would be nice.
Right. Must be able to read plans.
Yeah, forget that. That would count. We're all fired.
Did I really roll out?
Just a nerdy binder question. Do we have a minimum number of seats that have to be filled? We have a lot of folks who may, you passed out a lot of forms last meeting
I
for
only
reappointments.
passed out like three, George.
Right, I'm just kind of curious, but now, so I'm just
But now
curious
we're
about
four.
that.
But now we're four.
Yeah, and then what would be,
We need 5 as a quorum.
five is quorum.
We are a 9-member board, so 5 is quorum. I don't know. I mean, I know that you've submitted Reese, right? Reese submitted. Glenn, you have. Mr. Crucera, I assume that you've also.
I'm in there.
Right now, I think Melissa's right now the only one, the only vacancy, unless you're planning to bail.
No.
Melissa's right now is the only vacancy we have, right?
Yeah.
So,
I wouldn't worry about quorum here.
And
Fair
Annie's
point.
not up, is she?
No, Annie's not up until I think next year. So, so we're in good shape for right now, right? But
I was just curious. Thank you.
no, thank you for asking.
There is a catch with the quorum thing, which Bob used to bring up once in a while, which I should have written down probably. If there's only 5 people here, we need 5 to have a quorum. If there's only 4 people, we can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
If we have 5 and someone comes up and asks us something,
Yeah, you all
they
have to
have to have a unanimous vote of those 5 people.
Yep.
I remember that.
So he would always give them the option, either you can go with the 5 or wait till, we have a bit larger group and come back again. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I do. If nobody else has
Okay,
anything?
as long as you're not selling any tickets, you okay?
Nope, not selling any tickets, but I would like to wish my fellow Planning Commission members, those in our studio audience, and the hundreds of viewers we have at home, a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy Hanukkah to all of you.
I go along with that, and I'll wait for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion, I have support. Roll call, please.
Ms. Scripture.
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd.
Yes.
Mr. Audia.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Crucera.
Yes.
Mr. McHale.
Yes.
Ms. Prowse.
Yes.
Thank you all, and see everybody next year.